Hello friends, Namaskar, this is Sanjay. Welcome to part 3 of this video series where we will be talking about Vygotsky and some of his important theories and concepts that are covered in the CTET CDP syllabus. We will also be solving 150 questions from various CTET paper 1 previous question papers. This is a 10-part video series and what you're watching is part 3. If you have started watching this series from somewhere in the middle, please start watching from part 1 onwards, because in part 1 I have given a brief introduction about Vygotsky and covered some of the important concepts and theories that are essential for your CTET CDP question paper, such as the socio-cultural theory, the zone of proximal development, scaffolding and constructivist classroom. We will be solving 150 questions from various CTET previous question papers, and in each part we will be solving 15 questions. So in total we will cover 150 questions that are based directly or indirectly on Vygotsky and his theories and concepts. This video series has two versions. What you're watching is the English version. If you are comfortable with listening to the explanations and the answers in Hindi, then there is a Hindi version of the same video which you can watch on our channel. So let's get started. According to Vygotsky, children learn through which of the following? Now when we are talking about Vygotsky, you have to remember that his theory says that children's learning is influenced by three major factors, SCL, that is society or social factors, cultural factors and linguistic factors or language. So when we look at all the answer choices, the last one says by interacting with adults and peers. So interaction with adults and peers is nothing but social factors. Therefore, this is the correct answer. Reinforcement, maturation and imitation are also factors which influence the learning of children. However, we are talking about Vygotsky's theories and concepts here. Therefore, these three options, even though they are correct, we can ignore them, because as per Vygotsky's theory, we have to look at social factors, cultural factors and language factors. According to Vygotsky, learning cannot be separated from which of the following? Now, since we are talking about Vygotsky, the answer choice should have social aspects, cultural aspects or linguistic aspects. And the second option, that is the social context, fulfills this rule. Therefore, this is the correct answer. And even if you look at it without a reference to Vygotsky, social context is the correct answer, because in a classroom when you are teaching something, it has to be connected to the social context. For example, if you are teaching about water in a village school, then you can use wells as an example of sources of water, because in villages wells are very prevalent and children would know how a well can be a source of water. Whereas if you are teaching the same lesson in a city, then the children from the city may not have seen wells, may not have used wells. For them, a source of water may be a tap. Therefore, when you are teaching the same lesson in a village, it is in a different context and you need to use different examples. Whereas in a city or a town, you are teaching the same lesson, but because the context is different, the social context is different, you are using a different type of example. Therefore, learning cannot be separated from the social context. According to Vygotsky, when adults adjust the support to extend the child's current level of performance, what is it called? Well, because we are talking about Vygotsky, when we look at the answer choices, there are two key theories or two key concepts that are in the answer choices which can be possible answers. One is the zone of proximal development. The second one is scaffolding. So which one of these is the correct answer? Now, what we are being told in the question is that the child is able to do some things on his or her own, and the child needs some support in doing some of the other things. And these other things where the child needs support are those activities or tasks that are in the zone of proximal development. And the technical name that is given to the support that is given to the child in the zone of proximal development is nothing but scaffolding. Therefore, we are being asked here about what is this support called. This support is called scaffolding. Therefore, that is the correct answer. According to Vygotsky, the zone of proximal development is what? Now, as we have studied earlier, there are a few things which the child can do independently, and then there are a lot of things which the child can do but with some help and support. So the gap between what the child can do independently and what the child can do with some help and support is called the zone of proximal development. Therefore, the gap between what the child can do independently and what the child can do with some assistance is called the zone of proximal development. According to which theorist, language plays a crucial role in the development of cognitive ability? Now, as soon as you see language, you can identify that we are talking about Vygotsky here, which is the correct answer, because Vygotsky says that social factors, cultural factors, and linguistic factors or language are the three critical factors which play a crucial role in the development of cognitive ability. After observing that students are struggling to proceed further on an ongoing activity, a teacher decides to provide cues and hints in the form of what, why, and how. According to Lev Vygotsky's theory, this strategy of the teacher will do which of the following? Now, if you look at the situation that is being described in this question, there is a set of things that the children can do independently. Now the teacher has realized that the activity that they are doing, they are not able to complete it without some help or assistance or guidance from her. So the teacher is actually providing cues and hints. That is, she is providing some support or help or guidance to the children in completing these activities which they are not able to complete on their own. So these activities are in the zone of proximal development. Now, what is the name that is given to this cues and hints and the support or the help that she is giving? This is nothing but scaffolding. So what the teacher is doing is she is actually providing a scaffolding for the learning to happen. Therefore, the correct option is act as a scaffold for learning. Vikram instructs himself while assembling a set of blocks. In light of Lev Vygotsky's theory, Vikram is engaging in what kind of speech? As we have discussed, there are three kinds of speech. There is public speech, there is private speech, and there is silent inner speech. Now, public speech is the normal speech that is used to communicate with everyone. Private speech is what young children use when they are talking to themselves because they are providing instructions or guidance to themselves. And as the children grow up, the private speech becomes silent and it goes inside the mind and it becomes silent inner speech. So here the correct answer can be private speech or inner speech. But here we are being told that Vikram is instructing himself while assembling a set of blocks. That is, people can see that he is talking to himself. So this has to be private speech. So when we look at the answers, private speech is the correct answer. And silent inner speech is not even mentioned in any of the answer choices. Therefore, there cannot be any confusion. Raman is trying to fix the pieces of a puzzle, but he is struggling to fit the correct parts in the right places. His mother provides hints and cues in the form of how, what, and why. According to Lev Vygotsky's theory of learning, this strategy of learning will do which of the following? This again is a very simple question which we have already answered in the past. That is, what Raman is trying to do, he is trying to solve a puzzle. Now, there are probably some puzzles that he can solve on his own, but this puzzle is something that he is unable to solve on his own. He needs some help and support. So his mother, who is the more knowledgeable other, she is providing some support and help to Raman. Now, this puzzle which Raman is unable to solve on his own is in his zone of proximal development, and the support that his mother is providing in the form of hints and cues is nothing but scaffolding. Therefore, when we look at all the answer choices, the third one says act as a scaffold for learning. So that is the correct answer. As a teacher who firmly believes in social constructivist theory of Lev Vygotsky, which of the following methods would you prefer for assessing your students? So when it comes to Lev Vygotsky's social constructivist theory, then when you look at all the answer choices, there should be a social aspect to it, a cultural aspect, or a language or a linguistic aspect to the correct answer. Now when you look at all the answer choices, the first one says fact-based recall of questions. So none of these three factors are there. Therefore, this can be eliminated. The next one, objective multiple choice type questions. Objective multiple choice questions do not require any social interaction, do not require any cultural interaction, and there is no language or linguistic factors also here. They are just written in one language. Therefore, this also can be eliminated. The next one is collaborative projects. So collaboration requires social interaction, right? Therefore, this has to be the correct answer because this is one of the three. And this is the answer to this question. The last one, standardized test. Again, standardized test does not have any social aspect, does not have a major cultural aspect, and it will be written in just one language, that is English. Therefore, it does not have a major linguistic aspect as well. Therefore, this also can be eliminated. So, to solve any questions where Lev Vygotsky's theories are mentioned, you can use the SCL method. As children enter school, which of the following statements is correct? Now, if you look at all the 4 statements, they are talking about the language that children should be speaking and what language should be spoken in school, mother tongue or language of the school. Right? Now, if you look at the national education policy, it says that children should be encouraged to speak in their mother tongue, and the teaching and learning, at least in the initial years, should happen in the mother tongue, and gradually the language of the school should be introduced. Therefore, children should not be discouraged from using the language in which they are most comfortable. And even if you look at Lev Vygotsky's theory, he says that language is extremely important in the development of children, because language is not only the means of gathering information from social factors or cultural factors, but language is also the process in which thought develops. Therefore, children should be allowed to speak in their mother tongue, and that is as per Lev Vygotsky's theory and also as per the national education policy. Therefore, the first option is the correct option, that is, they should be allowed to speak in their mother tongue. As per Lev Vygotsky's theory, which of the following is an effective strategy of scaffolding in the teaching and learning process? Now, as we discussed in part 1, there are some things which the children can do independently. There are some things where the children need some support, help or guidance. They can do this, but they are facing some difficulty. Therefore, the teacher will act as a scaffold. In the sense, she will provide some support or help or guidance so that the children can solve this on their own. So, when we look at all the answer choices, the third one says giving hints and cues if the children are stuck at some point. That is, each child who's in the zone of proximal development will require a different level of scaffolding. Some children may not understand the basics itself. Some children may be a little more advanced and they need only some very little help. Therefore, the teacher sees what is the kind of help that each student requires and provides the appropriate hints and cues so that children can solve it on their own. Therefore, the scaffolding that is provided here is nothing but hints and cues, and that is the correct answer. Now, when we look at the other options, the first one says providing rigid step-by-step instructions to solve the problems. If you are providing rigid step-by-step instructions, what you are telling is asking the students to follow only these steps to solve the problem. So here you are not providing any scaffolding, you are just giving instructions to that child. Right? So this is definitely not as per Vygotsky's scaffolding theory. Next, punishing the children for incorrect answers. This is not scaffolding at all, and this is not linked to Lev Vygotsky's theories. Therefore, this is also incorrect. The last one, complete non-interference. Now, if the teacher does not interfere at all, then she is not providing any sort of support or help. Therefore, there is no scaffolding that is happening. Therefore, this is also incorrect. Assertion A says that children learn knowledge, skills, values and customs of the society by their parents only. This is an incorrect statement, because children learn a lot of things not just through their parents but also through their interaction with other family members, with their community members, through interaction with their peers and classmates and teachers. Therefore, parents only is incorrect. And the reason R is socialization of children is a simple and linear process. Socialization is not simple because there are many things which have to be considered while socializing children. Right? So what kind of people should they socialize with, in what circumstances or what situation should the socialization happen. Therefore, socialization is not simple and not just a linear process. Therefore, since assertion A itself is wrong, look at the answer choices. First one says both A and R are true. The next one says both A and R are true. The next one says A is true. In all the three, A is being mentioned as a true statement. Therefore, these are incorrect. The last one says both A and R are false. Since A is already false, this is the only option that we can choose. And R is also false. Therefore, the correct answer is both A and R are false. Assertion A says that children need to be provided with opportunities such as manipulation of objects, experiments, brainstorming, and discussions to foster their inherent interest in the meaning making. This is absolutely correct, because if children are just being given a lecture by the teacher, or if they are just given some books to read, then they will not be able to understand things fully, because they have to do things hands-on, because learning is hands-on and active. Therefore, manipulation of objects and experimentation is hands-on and active learning. And brainstorming and discussions are social interactions, because when children interact with their peers, with their teachers, with their family members, community members, and brainstorm things and discuss things, then they are able to understand a lot of things better. Therefore, manipulation of objects and experiments is nothing but active learning, and brainstorming and discussion is nothing but social interactions and social learning. Therefore, assertion A is correct, and the reason R is also correct, and the reason R supports the information given in assertion A. So when we look at the answer choices, the first one, which says that both A and R are true, and R is the correct explanation of A, is the correct answer here. The assertion says that participation in the social life of the school is significant for learning to occur. So every school will have some social activities. It might be sports, it might be games, it might be outings, it might be trips. So if children are only limiting themselves to what is happening in the classroom, they just listen to the lectures or listen to the lessons and then go back home, then they are not actually mingling or interacting with their peers. Therefore, participation in the social activities that happen in the school is also very, very important for the learning process. Therefore, assertion A is correct, especially if you look at Vygotsky's theory, who talks about social interactions, cultural aspects, and linguistic aspects as the three major factors which affect learning. Therefore, social life is very important. Next, the reason R says that learning is primarily a social activity. This is completely in sync with Vygotsky's theory, which says that social interactions are very, very important in the learning process. Therefore, assertion A is correct. The reason R is also correct. And the reason R is actually supporting assertion A, which says that participation in social life is important because learning is primarily a social activity. Therefore, both A and R are true, and R is the correct explanation of A. The assertion A says that children belonging to the Potter community learn about conservation of mass earlier than conservation of numbers. So, what they are trying to tell us here is if a child is from a Potter's family, then the child would have seen how pots are made. So you take a small piece of clay and you can make a big pot out of it. So the mass of the clay is not changing. It is only the shape of the clay which is changing, and because the pot is hollow inside, it looks very big. So the child knows that when you make a big pot out of a small piece of clay, mass does not change. So that is conservation of mass. So here the assertion is saying that the children belonging to the Potter community will learn about conservation of mass before they learn conservation of numbers. So conservation of numbers is something that they will learn in school. So why is this? Because the children can actually see the pots being made in their house, which means that the socio-cultural background, right, the social background and the cultural background of the child is actually teaching the child that conservation of mass happens in this way. So the assertion A is correct, right? Because a potter's child will learn how pots are being made. And the reason that learning and development takes place in a socio-cultural activity is also absolutely correct. And this supports the assertion. Also, from Vygotsky's theory's perspective, Vygotsky says that socio-cultural interaction is extremely important because social interactions and cultural interactions which happen through language are very, very important in the learning and development of children. Therefore, if you look at this from Vygotsky's principles and theories angle, then socio-cultural interactions are very, very important in learning and development. Therefore, both assertion A and reason R are correct, and the reason R is supporting the assertion A. So option 1 is the correct answer. With that, we have completed part 3 of this video series, and we have solved 45 questions out of the 150 questions that we will be solving in this series. If you have any questions, comments or feedback, please put them in the comment section below. And I will see you shortly in the next part of this video. So till then, take care and stay safe.